Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. We are looking at day 4 of our 3rd grade math review. So we only have 2 problems to look at today, but we're going to take a little bit of time to work on this first one here. Number 7, Erica's goal is to practice playing her guitar for 300 minutes this week. So on Tuesday she's practiced 117, on Sunday she practiced 117, Tuesday she practiced 58. How many more, so we're going to need to subtract because that's comparison, does she need to practice in order to meet her goal? So let's see what she's done so far. So far she's practiced 117 and 58. So let's add that up to see what we have here. So that's going to be 15, and that's 6, 7, and that's... So she's practiced 175 minutes. Her goal is to practice 300. And that's where this gets really tricky because subtracting across zeros can be extremely difficult. So we'll do it correctly the first way, and then we're going to do it incorrectly a few different ways to see if we can find some of these wrong answers. So 0 minus 5, you're always looking at the ones place. So you cannot take 5 away from 0. So typically you would go right here to the tens place to borrow or to regroup, but there's nothing there. So what we end up having to do is coming all the way over here to our hundreds place. Now what we have right here is we have 300s. I'm going to draw these 300s flats. What we're going to do is we're going to break up one of those. We're not going to get rid of it. We're going to break it up, and it's going to come into 10 little 10 rods. And so we're going to break that up. That's 2. Now we have 10 rods. Now what we're going to do is we're going to break up one of those 10 rods right here. And this is going to get us the 10 ones that we need, because that's all we were looking for. All we needed were some ones. But that leaves us with 9 10 rods. Now we have 10 ones cubes. Now we can subtract. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. But you end up having to regroup twice before you can do anything in that ones place. And that's where we get into trouble. Sometimes students might not remember to do that. If you are not sure if you got the right answer, take your difference here, add it back into the 175. You should come back up with your original answer of 300. So that's 10. That's another 10. And there we go. That's 300. So our answer is going to be 125. Now let's see how we can get some of these other answers. So what they did when they were writing this test was they wrote some incorrect answer choices based on common mistakes. So sometimes, for whatever reason, students think that they can just subtract the 5 away from 0 as if it were a 10. So they would say 0 minus 5 is 5, which it's not. They would say 0 minus 7 is 3, which it's not. And then they would say, oh, 3 minus 1, I get that, that's 2. So there's your 235 right there. But obviously, we didn't regroup at all. This 475, well, the 475, most of you can see where that's going to come. 3. And then if we add the 300 to the 175, there's going to get your 475. And then sometimes we'll get something like this. So there's your 475. Students will take their 300 and they'll take their 175, and they know they've got to borrow somewhere. So what they'll do is they'll start here and they'll jump way over there. They'll skip the tens place and they go straight there. The problem is that 100 that we split up, that took our hundreds from 3 down to 2, does not equal 10 ones. It equals 10 tens. But let's pretend it does for just a moment. This is where you can get this answer right here. You would say, we've got 10 minus 5 is 5, 0 minus 7, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to put 7, 2 minus 1 is 1, and look, there's your 175. So all of these incorrect answers are there simply based on common mistakes, but our correct answer is going to be this A, 125. But it's always good to know how to get incorrect answers because they're typically based on common calculation errors. So let's look at the second problem for today, our last problem for today. The table shows the numbers of puzzle pieces in 4 puzzles. Derek put together the 2 puzzles that had the greatest number of pieces. Now, be careful for this, because that is an easy way out for students if they don't come up with an answer. They must think it's not here. Just because not here is an option doesn't mean it has to be the correct answer. Now, let's take a look at this. If the students were to add up all 4 numbers, right? So let's just see what happens when we do all, it's supposed to be an 8, 4 numbers. You're going to get something much larger than anything that's there. So it's going to be 10, that's 12, that's 22. So that's going to be 10, that's 19. And then 4, 8, 12, 16, 17. And they say, whoa, 1,792. It must be here. But look at all your other answers. Your other answer choices. A, B, and C are all within a range between 861 and 961. Probably at this point, if you were a student, you might be thinking, I wasn't even anywhere close. I might have done something wrong. Because typically you're going to at least be close. You just make a simple error. And look what it says. Derek put together the 2 puzzles that had the greatest number of pieces. So we got to do 2 things. First, we have to compare all of these. Then we have to add simply the 2 largest ones. So if we were to compare all of these, we could say 498 is our largest. That is greater than, we'll mark it off, than 473. Second largest, which is greater than 419. You can just write it as a string here. And this is a correct way of showing the order from greatest to least. And so I am simply wanting my 2 greatest. But see that little keyword right there. If students skip the reading and they go straight to the numbers, then, and maybe they pick up this word put together, they're going to get something way off. So let's see what happens when we just add 498 and 473. So that's going to be my 11. That's 10. That's 17. And that's 9. So I've got 971. So my answer still looks like it's not here. But let's see what happens if I were to possibly add some of the incorrect answer choices. Because maybe a student were to take the 2 lowest ones for whatever reason. Let's see if that gets us an answer. It's 11, and that's 2, and that's 8. Nope, that's not an answer here. So it looks like this is one of those difficult problems to where the correct answer is not going to be here. So we are going to circle D, but we're going to make sure one more time we just read it correctly, because that's kind of a cheap way out. We've got puzzle pieces. There's the 2 greatest ones, so it's going to be my 498, 473, 498, 473. We added it correctly. Yes, we did. And so there we go. Our answer is D, not here. But you always want to double check before you go to that quickly.